My new boyfriend is a better man than you could ever be, she texted after she left me. I just read it and moved on. Now, 2 years later, he's the new intern in my company and she's begging me to come back. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I think the quiet moments are what I miss most. Not the big vacations or the nights out, but the Tuesday nights. The nights we'd both be wiped from work, ordering some crappy takeout, and just sitting on the couch together, not needing to say a word. Just the weight of our shared silence. Warm and comfortable. That was life with Hannah. Simple, predictable, and to me, perfect. We'd been together for 5 years. 5 years of building a life. We had a nice, boring apartment. My job as a data analyst was stable and paid well enough to cover the bills, and her salary from the marketing firm was our fun money for the occasional dinner out or a weekend trip. We'd talked about getting a house in a few years, maybe getting a dog. I even had a separate savings account just for the down payment. It was all so sensible. I liked sensible. I liked knowing what to expect. I remember one night, about a year before it all fell apart, she came home from a work event. She was gushing about a new client, a guy named Kevin. He was a founder of some tech startup, charismatic, full of big ideas. She kept saying, "He's just so passionate, Dean. He has this vision for everything." I remember smiling, happy for her, and just nodding along. I didn't think anything of it. She was just excited about a project. I should have paid closer attention to the way her eyes lit up, not just for the project, but for the man behind it. The week before it all ended, things felt off. She was distant, on her phone constantly. I'd ask if she was okay, and she'd just wave me off with a sigh, saying she was just busy. I was starting to worry. I thought maybe something was wrong at work. Maybe she was unhappy with us, but I didn't want to pry. I gave her space, assuming she'd come to me when she was ready. I did what I always did. I was there for her. I was her foundation. The text came on a Thursday night. I was on the couch, watching a game. My phone buzzed, and I saw her name. My heart dropped a little, thinking it was a late-night work crisis. But it wasn't a crisis. It was a picture. A picture of Hannah, beaming, with her arm wrapped around a guy. Kevin. He was lean, dressed in a black turtleneck, with a smug, almost theatrical grin on his face. He was staring at the camera like he was the most important person in the room. And underneath the picture, a message. It was a single, long text that felt like a punch to the gut. "Dean, I've been trying to figure out how to tell you this, but there's no easy way. We're done. I know you're a good man, but you and I are on different paths. You're happy with a comfortable, predictable life, and I need more than that. I need someone who takes risks and has a vision for the future. Kevin and I, we just click. He gets me in a way you never could. Honestly, you're a good guy, but my new boyfriend is a better man than you could ever be." The message was so cold, so casual. It wasn't a painful goodbye. It was a proud announcement. It was her moving on from a stepping stone. And her final, smug declaration wasn't even a question. It was a statement of fact, delivered with the kind of confidence that makes you feel like you've been a fool all along. And in that moment, sitting on our comfortable couch, with the distant sound of the TV, I felt it. The weight of her casual, utterly brutal betrayal. I read the text twice. My mind didn't race with anger, but with a strange, hollowed-out stillness. I felt a slow, cold realization wash over me. It wasn't a breakup, it was a press release. A public declaration of her new, better life, with me as the cautionary tale. I looked around the apartment we had built together, the apartment that was filled with the ghosts of our shared, comfortable silence. It all felt like a lie. Every quiet Tuesday night, every shared meal, every plan for a future house and a dog. It had all been a holding pattern for her until something more exciting came along. And in that moment, I knew I had a choice. I could rage. I could call her, scream, and demand an explanation. I could beg her to reconsider. I could make a scene. I could act exactly how she probably expected a predictable man to act. But I didn't. I just sat there, phone in hand. I scrolled up to her smug picture, the one of her and Kevin, and I felt nothing. The emotional part of me, the part that had loved her, had just shut down. It was a self-defense mechanism, a firewall against a flood of pain that I just didn't have the energy to fight. I calmly deleted the text message. Then I went to her contact and, Without a second thought, I blocked her number. I went to Instagram, saw her profile, and blocked her there too. I didn't want to see the new life she was building. I didn't want to see her passion or her vision. I wanted her to become a ghost, a person who, for all intents and purposes, no longer existed in my world. The next morning, I packed a bag. I left a short note on the kitchen counter. I've gone to stay with my brother for a while. You can get the rest of my things whenever you want. I knew it was cowardly. I knew she'd probably think I was running away, and maybe I was. But I wasn't running from her. I was running to myself. I was reclaiming the space she had occupied in my life, and I was going to fill it with something real, something of my own. For the next few months, I went dark. I stayed with my brother, and I threw myself into my work. I started going to the gym again, something I'd let slide over the years. I even took up a new hobby, woodworking. There was something deeply satisfying about taking raw lumber and shaping it into something sturdy and useful. It was a tangible metaphor for my life. I ignored my friends' questions about Hannah. I just said we broke up and left it at that. I didn't gossip. I didn't badmouth her. I just quietly rebuilt my life, brick by brick, away from the chaos and drama she had so casually dropped into it. Her absence wasn't a void. It was an opportunity. I was no longer the stable, predictable partner in a two-person life. I was just Dean. And that was enough. 2 years. 2 years of Tuesdays. 2 years of quiet. The first few months had been a slog, but they had also been clarifying. I'd spent so much time being a partner, a provider, a support system, that I'd forgotten how to just be a person. I filled my life with things that brought me quiet satisfaction. I started playing basketball again with some old friends. My woodworking hobby turned into a small side business, selling handcrafted cutting boards and custom furniture on a local online marketplace. The down payment savings account, once earmarked for a shared future, was now a business account for a different kind of life. And my career exploded. Without the emotional drain of a one-sided relationship, I was able to put my full focus into my job. I started taking on bigger projects, presenting to senior management, and actually enjoying the challenge. 6 months ago, I was promoted to a senior manager role. It came with a corner office, a significant salary bump, and a new sense of purpose. I wasn't just working a job, I was building something for myself. The predictable life Hannah had so disdained was now a life of my own making, and it was better than I ever could have imagined. The memory of her was a distant echo. She was a footnote in my past, a lesson learned, a person I'd once known. I hadn't looked at her social media in over a year, and her number was still blocked. I had completely moved on, not with rage or resentment, but with genuine, placid indifference. The company holiday party was a formal affair held at a new downtown hotel ballroom. It was a chance to celebrate the team's successes, and for me, it felt like a culmination. I was there with my team, laughing and talking shop, when my assistant, Sarah, tapped me on the arm. "Look at that, Dean," she said, her voice low. "That's the new intern, Kevin. The one everyone says got his job through some weird connection. They say he's kind of arrogant." I followed her gaze. And there he was. Kevin. Black turtleneck, smug grin, the same theatrical look I remembered from the photo. He was standing with a drink in his hand, a little too loud, a little too proud for an intern. But what made me stop breathing was the person standing next to him. Hannah. She was dressed in a sleek black dress, looking just as she had in the photo, but something was different. The smugness was gone. Her smile seemed forced, a little brittle around the edges. She was laughing too loud at one of Kevin's jokes, her eyes darting around the room, a hint of desperation in them. It was a perfect, ironic moment. She, the woman who had left me for a man with a vision, was now at my company's event, standing next to her boyfriend, who was, by all accounts, just a kid starting at the bottom. She saw me. Her eyes locked onto mine from across the room, and the brittle smile on her face faltered. The color drained from her cheeks as the full weight of the situation hit her. She nudged Kevin, whispered something in his ear, and then started walking towards me. It was like watching a scene from a movie, a slow-motion inevitability I had been mentally rehearsing for 2 years. Kevin, who seemed completely oblivious, trailed behind her. Hannah stopped a few feet away, her hands clasped in front of her. "Dean," she said, her voice breathy and a little shaky. "Wow, I can't believe it's you. It's been a while." "It has," I replied, my voice completely level. I didn't smile, didn't frown. I just looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time in years. She wasn't the woman I had built a life with anymore. She was just a woman, a stranger with a familiar face. You look great, she continued, her eyes scanning my suit, my posture, the confident way I held myself. The lie was so obvious. Thank you. You too, I said, a polite, detached formality in my voice. I didn't ask her how she was doing. I didn't ask about Kevin. I just stood there, waiting for her to get to the point. Kevin finally caught up, a smirk on his face. He extended a hand to me. Hey man, Kevin. I'm an intern here. You must be one of the VPs or something, right? Hannah's told me all about you. My face didn't move. I simply looked at his hand, and then at him, and then back at Hannah. The power dynamic had flipped completely. I was his superior, and he was using our history to try and impress me. It was pathetic. Hannah, seeing the silent exchange, stepped in quickly. Dean and I were together for a long time, she said, trying to force a laugh. It was a very different time for both of us. We both needed to grow. And then came the moment. Her attempt to justify everything, to rewrite history, to make it sound like we were two mutually incompatible people who had just found our separate paths. I didn't let her finish. Hannah, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I don't think there's anything to discuss. That was a long time ago. My life is good now. I'm happy. Her face fell. She was expecting a question, an argument, an opening. She was expecting me to show some hint of a scar. But there was nothing. Just a closed door. Oh, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Well, I was hoping maybe we could talk sometime. Catch up. You know, for old time's sake. Maybe grab a coffee. I looked at her, and then at Kevin, the smug intern who didn't understand what was happening. I took a sip of my drink. Hannah, I said, I have no desire to catch up. I don't think about any of that anymore. I genuinely wish you the best, but I'm going to get back to my team. And I did. I turned my back on her and walked away. I didn't look back. There was no rage, no satisfaction, no vengeance. Just quiet, complete, and total indifference. She was a ghost now, and I had a new life to get back to. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.